to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies, the future of sports medicine. If you want to find more about the PEMF machine or Replenishing Care in general, you can go to thegruelingtruth.net, click on our website, click on the banner. It'll take you right there. I am your host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I would like to welcome to the show my co-host, Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame member, and now new soccer lover, Steve Risley.
How you doing, Mike?
All right. Is that all you're going to say? Usually you pontificate with something very truculent.
It's a new me. It's a new world.
A quiet
new
Steve.
Day.
All right. So
we saved everybody. We got everybody out of the cave in Thailand, so life is good.
I didn't even know
everybody is out and safe, and though they don't report current news in Lawrenceburg until it's old news.
We're like 20 years behind everybody. I've only
that's
got
exactly right.
I only got dial-up internet right now, so if you hear the phone go off, that's just because we dropped or something.
Oh my God, Mike! Are you living in the old days? What are you doing?
You know what's really bad is when you have somebody on as a guest, and before you even introduce them, they start flapping their gums. But that happens when you get people from Canada. And with that being said, I would like to welcome to the show our managing editor of our dog sled racing and ice hockey podcast. We don't have a name for the Iditarod podcast yet. I think we're going to call it Lukas Does Dogs. Lukas Weese. How you doing, Lukas?
God.
No, I named the lead show. It's called I Ain't the Lead Dog.
Oh, okay. I like
that's
Lukas
a good
Does
one.
Dogs better.
And
I Ain't the Lead Dog by Lukas.
Maybe
you're going to be sitting right behind about 11 buttholes and that sled for about 1,300 miles. And I bet you're going to get shat on at some point in time.
Hence, Lukas Does Dogs. Because if he's going 1,100 miles, he's going to get bored. And there's no Wi-Fi probably in Alaska. Is there any Wi-Fi
There's no
in
data.
Canada?
Yes, there is, Mike. We're more advanced than your dial-up. We have high-speed internet.
Dial-up's pretty freaking solid, though. I mean, where I live, you get CenturyLink, and, you can actually sometimes get a movie on Netflix that only buffers for like a half hour at a time.
Oh, wow.
But, all right, well, so let's talk a little sports.
Let's talk a little sports.
Our main topic today will be that'll be the greatest sports event of the 20th century. But right now, since we're about 2 hours away from the start of something that I know Lukas thinks is really awesome, but we're going to have our picks for these two semifinal games of the World Cup. And the problem has been this. I haven't missed a game that I've predicted yet, and Lukas was wrong. So when you look at France against Belgium, who do you like, and why do you like them?
Wow. Well, you got a really good matchup here. France, star-studded with Griezmann, Pogba, Mbappe. Belgium, of course, have their front three, Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku, and Hazard. It's going to be really close. Belgium, I think, got lucky that they played a Brazil team that didn't have the greatest defensive core. I think France has a better and more deeper defense that I think will counter the attack of Belgium strikers. I think this game is going to extra time. I like France to advance 2-1
so
over
let
Belgium.
Me ask you this. From history of picking, do you just not like people from Belgium?
No, I
don't. Okay,
I
so
do.
we heard it right there.
No.
Lukas does not like Belgian people.
No, that's not the truth.
You said no. I said,
visited
do you
Belgium.
like Belgian people, and you said no.
I was saying no to your question, but anyway, I do like Belgian people. I think at the end of the day that I do. I visited Belgium a few times, so I am cultured. I have breached out of my cocoon here in Canada and traveled overseas.
Yeah, I
They
know
have
how
great
it is.
beer
I went
in Belgium.
overseas. I've been to Kentucky and Ohio. You have to go over the Ohio River. Same thing.
Okay.
The people in Kentucky are kind of iffy, but
yeah, well, they have good horse racing there.
Hey, Mike.
But
speaking of that,
anyway,
did you hear about the war? Mike, wait. Did you hear about the war between the Hoosiers and Kentuckians? Kentuckians were throwing hand grenades across the Ohio River. Hoosiers were pulling the rings and throwing them back.
I like that. That's a good one. All right, so Steve, do you want to go with France, or do you hate Belgians also?
I love Belgian waffles, man. I tell you what, I eat Belgian waffles every Sunday morning. I'm going Belgium all the way.
Belgium?
I love Belgium, wherever. So they have, isn't that where they have the red light district and stuff?
You said you're going Belgium.
Belgium. Where they have the red. Is the red light district? That's where's that in Holland, or where's that red light district thing at?
That's in Amsterdam.
Lucas got all excited when you brought up Amsterdam.
You know, that's all part of that. That's where Sonia Haney used to skate, didn't she?
No, she was from Norway.
Okay. See, they're all the same. France. France is up and down. You know, France loves us, and when they need money, and they hate us when we want to fly our planes over their country. So, the hell with France.
So you taking France or Belgium?
I'm taking Belgium.
There you go. All smart people take Belgium. Next up, we've got, what do we got? England against Croatia. I would like to say that Croatia probably doesn't deserve to be here because at the end of the World Cup last game, I watched the game just for the sights and the stands of the Russian women, and I'm really disappointed that they're not going to be back in this, Lucas.
No kidding.
No, yeah, real shame. But it was a terrific game. I'm glad you watched, Mike. Good for you.
I just watched. I watched
penalty
because
shootout.
Freaking Risley's texted me. This is so exciting. I get so excited. So.
Yeah, it was. It went to penalty. It went to penalty kick. So you can't beat that excitement.
Yeah.
But I think Croatia.
Wait a second, real quick. I want to bring this up. I want to see your opinion. Isn't it kind of stupid to decide a game that's played on a long field with penalty kicks?
Oh, I think it's stupid. But I also think that it's the only way. I think it's the only way because I think that these games could go on for 4 hours, Mike.
Okay, now wait a second. Because I've seen hockey games that go on like that, and they're exciting like that.
But that's in the playoffs. That's in the playoffs.
Well, what is this?
Smaller rink.
Smaller rink. So, Mike, so what you're really saying is it's stupid that it goes on for 4 hours, right, Lucas? And you say hockey games go on like that. Isn't hockey really a Canadian sport? So, Mike, what you're really saying is all Canadians are stupid.
No, because I just said that is great when hockey does it because they have a true winner. In soccer, whoever's got the best dude that can kick the ball in the top right-hand corner, and we all know the team is going to lose, as I said yesterday, is the team that
Mike.
Thinks it's a good idea to try to fake out the goalie and kick it straight at him.
Mike, for the first time, I agree with you on this show.
And for the first time, you're right on this show.
I absolutely don't. You want another 2 hours of boredom added on to the first 2 hours of sheer boredom. So let's just make it 4 hours of sheer boredom, followed by 15 minutes of at least something happening where it's mano a mano, one-on-one. You know, it's you against the world in a big stage, or you against one other guy in a big stage, and somebody's going to succeed, somebody's going to fail. And if that's not what sports is all about, not sitting there and kicking the ball 200 yards down one and back and down and back and down and back and down and back and down and back for the little part of 2 hours. Now we're going to do it for 4 hours. At least hockey moves and does something, and they take shots on goal. God, I mean, geez, that would be death to watch 2 more hours of soccer.
All right, so let's go ahead and stop before you piss all the soccer fans off. I've known that everybody knows.
I'm enjoying the way it is. I'm fine the way it is.
That's why you call it boring.
The first 2 hours is boring.
Lucas, Croatia against England.
This is a game I think will be very exciting. I really look forward to see Croatia's midfield try to counter England's attack led by Harry Kane, who's going to win the Golden Boot, the most goals scored at the World Cup. England's strength is their set pieces, so on the corner kicks and the free kicks, that's when they really shine. They don't really shine on defense. But I got to ride with England. Football is inching its way closer to home.
No, it's not.
I like England. I like England
Scotland
to win
would be in it. That's so BS. Scotland was where they played the first match. They played against England, but it was in Scotland.
It's the United Kingdom, Mike.
Oh, okay. So it's
that's what it's considered now.
Oh, you know
it's
what?
All the
Tell
same
William
thing.
Wallace that when he was out there dying to get free from those limey people. All right, Steve, Croatia or England? I'm not going to give my pick because Steve will just copy it because he knows I'm going to be right. So I'm going to make Steve pick now.
I've watched both teams play. Emotionally, I'm attached to England. I think Croatia's going to win it. I think Croatia's the darling and the underdog of this thing. I think to beat Russia on Russia's home field is pretty remarkable for any team to do that. So I'm in England's camp just because I tend to favor England. They got better golf courses than Croatia, but I think Croatia's going to win.
Here. Golf courses?
No.
I doubt it. They're minefields. If they are, there's a lot of fun.
The Yugoslavians blew them all up. Serbia blew them all up.
Yeah.
Croatia has great beaches. Croatia has great beaches.
And isn't that where the Ball brothers go play so they can't go to college anymore? Don't they
Lithuania.
Lithuania. That's the same thing. See, that's like Norway, Belgium, France.
Lithuania is part of Russia.
They're a bunch of
not the
part
same
of
thing,
Yugoslavia. Jeez. And he graduated from Indiana University. Saddening.
All right, I'm going Croatia. So, Mike, now I probably just blew yours, didn't I?
No, because I'm going with Croatia.
Well, I know you're going Croatia.
I have to, because Croatia, let's face it, England, when they faced, the big stage, they usually fail. In the World Cup they do. The Revolutionary War, they had us outnumbered 10-1 and got their ass beat. So what makes you think that the English are tough enough to beat the Croatians now? I mean, if Wales or Scotland...
That's Mike trying to be contrary to me. That's,
Wales or
that's
Scotland.
The reason.
No, it's not. It's not to be contrary to you. It's just the fact that you're always wrong. Your only prediction on this show was wrong. These two predictions will be wrong because you have no idea what you're talking about, Lucas.
We'll see after today, Mike. We'll see after today, I'll come on the show, maybe tomorrow if Belgium wins and give you all the credit. And same with you, Steve.
You're just trying to get the show again.
Lucas, Mr. Soccer Know-It-All, what's the biggest news that just came out of soccer?
Oh, my God.
Uh-oh.
I bet Steve Risley knows.
Somebody doesn't do their research.
Ronaldo rumored to get transferred to Juventus.
He did get transferred. That's it. He didn't rumor. It's official now. He's left Real Madrid. That's major.
Yeah, that's huge news.
That's huge. I mean, if I was going to report on soccer, if I was going to be the lead soccer guy as a guest on a great show like Survivor Advance, I probably would open with that story and say, the most important thing that's happening in soccer is not the World Cup right now. It's the fact that the premier player in the game
I think the World Cup
leaving.
Is more important.
Oh, I agree with Mike.
See, you made two mistakes, Mike. You thought wrong.
Yeah, well, I'm not wrong, but
all right.
That's why I don't like.
So that's it. All right, that's it with soccer. So we got 2-1, Croatia versus Belgium.
All right, Steve.
So it's probably going to be France versus England.
You got any more news?
Nah, the only other thing really, I looked at it Sports Wire, nothing really happening. The only other big thing was Serena Williams won today. I think you and I had this discussion earlier. You thought she would never get to the finals of Wimbledon. She's going to breeze her way through Wimbledon. She's in the finals or semifinals.
When did we talk about Wimbledon? We talked about the French Open where I said she won't even make the semifinals, and she didn't. We didn't talk about Wimbledon.
France, England, they're all the same.
They're
all
not
in Europe.
Same.
It's all the same over there.
It's a clay court, which you can't take all that
one's
time
got
off
the Arc de Triomphe, and one's got the London Bridge.
Steve's been wrong so much on this show, Lucas, that now he's trying to make up things that I said. And the thing is this, Steve Risley, if this is true, then you could go in and find the clip out of the show where I said that she would make it to the finals of Wimbledon.
Okay, I'll get right on that.
Yeah, because you can't find it. You know it's not there. It's absolutely atrocious that you would even talk like that to me.
I'm researching the Iditarod right now. So anyway, she's on her 19th straight match. She's in the semifinals.
He's just going to talk over you.
Pretty well poised to breeze into the finals, where she probably will win another Wimbledon championship. And life goes on. She still dominates the tennis world, as we knew she would when she came back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to win a Grand Slam title as a mother, too.
Yep. Would that be the first?
Significant.
No, I'm sure
it
wouldn't be.
Lindsay Davenport won a major as a mom.
Okay.
She was an American, too. So.
Yeah, what about Margaret Court or Von Goolagong? One of them came back after a pregnancy, too.
Margaret Court did as well.
Yeah.
I think Lindsay Davenport was the last two.
Mike right now is going, Margaret Court, is that like court number 17?
Really? Why would you say that?
He's saying, Margaret Court? Who's Margaret Court? That must be what they named court number 17, Margaret Court.
Margaret Court was one of the greatest female tennis players at all time, and I guarantee you I know more about her than you do.
I'm sure you do.
I do.
All right.
She won almost 200 career titles. She was the number one ranking player in the early 1960s, and I'm not Googling this either. And I believe she won every Grand Slam at least 2 times. But other than that, you can kiss my ass, Steve Risley. All right. Do you have anything else you want to bring up, Lucas? Since he's been rude to me.
Well, I'll just say this. I mean, it's somewhat sports related, but all the kids who were trapped in that cage in Thailand on that soccer team got rescued, as well as the coach. So just a feel-good story.
Lucas, we already had that discussion at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, we did.
We opened the show with that discussion, Lucas. Where were you?
No,
we did.
I did, Lucas. We did.
First thing we said was, it's so grateful they're all out and safe. Yeah, you go back and listen to the show. We opened with that story.
You don't have to copy off of Steve since you're trying to take his job anyways, Lucas.
I know.
You
Jesus
can do in your own marriage.
Another thing, okay, so another thing I know that was not mentioned was that the MLB All-Star Game rosters came out. J.A. Half of the Toronto Blue Jays,
we're doing a show on that later on this week. Lucas, we're doing a show on that later on this week.
Lucas,
so don't worry about it. We got that covered.
Lucas can bring up whatever
I can still bring it up. It's news. It's news. It's news.
What's
it's American pastime. We won 2 World Series, Mike or Steve.
I'm Mike. He's Steve. Steve,
well,
can you tell us which team in Canada won the World Series in what years?
I would guess would probably be the Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
It was the Toronto Blue Jays.
If it's not, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. It's one of those 2 teams. I don't have a great affinity for baseball because it's about like soccer, about 90 minutes to 2 hours worth of sheer boredom. Y'all need to get in and watch NASCAR and auto racing.
Y'all?
Y'all. I'm going into my NASCAR mode now.
Okay.
If you all had sat back and watched
All right, guys. We're going to come back after a short commercial break and talk about our main topic
finished.
today. Yeah, you are. What else you got to say?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we got to get to this at some point. This show's going to go on as long as a soccer game that goes to triple overtime without...
We've already done that.
All right, guys. We will be back after this short commercial break.
Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com.
All right, guys, we're back on Survive and Advance on the Grueling Crew Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, sitting here with my co-host, Steve Risley. and an outsider named Lukas Weese from Canada. So our topic today is what is the
Good morning.
Sports?
Good afternoon.
Did anybody ask you to speak? Jeez. I'll tell you what. This is.
You introduced me, Mike. You introduced me now.
I didn't
so I feel like I should
introduce you. I just said who was here. You didn't hear Steve jumping in saying, "Oh, hi, I'm here. Look at me. I'm famous now because I'm on with Mike and Steve." All right.
Wait, the national champion. The national champion.
All right. He played for Bobby Knight. Don't mess with him. All right. So when we look at this, our topic today is the greatest sports moments of the 20th century. We're not looking for something that's just a sports moment, but something maybe bigger than sports itself. I'd like for you guys to save your last two or three or your top two or three until the end. But, Lukas, you want to start us off with something that would be towards the bottom of your top 10?
Bottom of my top 10.
You have a top 10, right, since you're doing this show?
I'm going to go yes. I'm going to go with the battle of the sexes between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs.
Okay.
I'm done. I'm done.
You're kidding,
Roger
right?
Federer is coming on to play tennis right now. If we're going to start with crap like that, which is fictional entertainment, not even really sports.
It wasn't real.
Then I'm going to go watch Roger Federer play here to get into the semifinals.
Come on, Lukas.
Oh, is this where we're going?
Lukas.
Because I'm done.
Come on, Lukas.
Jesus,
no,
Lukas.
I'm serious. No, I'm serious.
You're down to every other Tuesday now.
Explain to us why a 50 or 60-year-old man playing tennis against the number one ranked woman matters.
On a doubles court, while the other woman's playing on a singles court.
Yeah.
Because 90 million people tuned in, number one. And number two.
No.
No. Yes. Steve.
90 million idiots tuned in.
Well, see, people tune in to NASCAR, watching people drive around a racetrack. So please.
Not
90 million.
Okay.
Not 90 million.
Well, a lot of million do. A lot of million do. And I can argue that millions. And I can argue that
a lot of million.
A lot of million.
And all I'll say, this is what, and all I'll say is this. It allowed for a greater acceptance of women's tennis to come to fruition.
It didn't.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, this is the thing. Women's tennis didn't get big until Chris Evert came on the scene in 1975 or so. Chris Evert was the reason it got big. And then
but
it got bigger
start
because
somewhere,
no,
Mike.
It's not a start.
You got to
It's not a start.
somewhere.
A lesbian playing an old man is a Jerry Springer episode. It's not a sporting event.
Mike, you know what I think they should do? I think you should get Steve Carell and Emma Stone and make a movie about it. That was such an epic event. I could see Steve Carell playing Bobby Riggs, and I could see Emma Stone playing Billie Jean King. I'm out here in Hollywood. I got to go talk to the producers, find somebody to put some money up and make that movie. Oh, it's already been made. That's right. And it didn't do well either. It flopped.
Well,
go ahead.
It didn't get the 90 million.
It cost $90 million to make it. Move on. What's your next one?
Number 9? Well, I'm going to go
just going around.
with... Or are you going to go, Steve? You can go.
Well, you have to make a legitimate pick first for number 10 because we're not going to count that as a legitimate pick.
Yeah, we can count it because that just means he loses worse.
All right. For me, number 10 would be Texas Western beating UK for the first time ever that an all-black team wins the NCAA Men's Championship. I think that's noteworthy. It's very important to the world in terms of social and racial injustice. I don't think it's one of the top 2 or 3 events ever to happen, but I do think it fits in the top 10, and I would say it would be in my second tier of really big things that really changed the game of basketball, even to the point, like Mike and you and I talked earlier, it actually got, within a couple of years, Adolph Rupp was recruiting black athletes to play at Kentucky after so vehemently opposed it. Mike, what do you think of that one?
Not because he wanted to. I've actually got that rated higher.
Yeah, and I could, but
not a lot higher, but a little bit higher.
Yeah, but it was an important event, an important time, and it made a statement politically, and it made a statement sports-wise too, and allowed the African-American athletes to come into the forefront and play. with acceptance and respect and prove that they belong and deserve to be there. And I think for that, it was a monumental episode, a monumental sporting event to happen.
All right, so I guess I'm up, right?
Yep.
I'll go.
Mike.
I only had 9 ready, so I'll throw in my number 10 as the 1975 World Series. The reason for that is this. The ratings on that were like Bobby Riggs's, but baseball actually was dying out until that World Series. The ratings, the 3 or 4 previous World Series were terrible. It really, this got baseball back on track from 1975 until 1994 when they went on strike and basically killed it the rest of the way. I'll put that at number 10. There wasn't much thought put into that, but it's still better than Bobby Riggs.
And I think 75 was the Big Red Machine, right?
Yeah,
that
the
was
Red
Machine.
Sox,
Yes.
the 7-game World Series.
Yeah.
Carlton Fisk.
Red Sox.
Carlton Fisk. Carlton Fisk hit a home run.
Fisk, yeah.
He lost. All right, he lost, Lucas. Did you know that? Joe Morgan hit a single in the top of the 9th inning to win the World Series, which is a much bigger hit than Carlton Fisk's hit.
And that baseball team goes down as one of the greatest baseball teams of all time, no doubt. For sure.
It was the greatest baseball team of all time.
Well, I mean, 27 Yankees were pretty good too, but they're it's a debate in itself that they're right there. But
it's a show for later on.
Right. I would favor the Reds too, but I'm telling you, a lot of people would favor the Yankees. So, but anyway, it's a different show.
I've never seen them play. All right, number 9, Steve.
Neither did I. Number 9 for me, believe it or not, I pulled this one out. I think a major sporting event that happened was the '89 World Series and the earthquake.
Oh God! And you gave him crap about Bobby Riggs. Why is that?
No, I
think
to watch that happen live, right as the game was going on with Al Michaels making the call, right in the middle, and to watch that thing unfold,
Bobby Riggs,
right on TV, and the compellingness of that, and then to see the tragedy and devastation that earthquake caused. And I know exactly where I was when that happened. And I was sitting in a bar in Broad Ripple, Indiana, with a bunch of friends watching it. And I remember seeing the shaking. I remember seeing it go black. And I remember seeing players and players' wives running to the middle of the field. And then it went black for a while. Then it came back on, and all they showed was the absolute devastation that had happened and how serious of an incident that was. And when you talk about compelling events wrapped around sporting events or are a sporting event, I just thought that was one that I didn't think either one of you would come up with.
No,
I think it definitely, whether it belongs in the top 10 or not, I think it was relevant enough that I wanted
Bobby
to mention
Riggs. How about that? It belongs.
Okay, well, that's
Bobby
something.
Riggs. Yeah.
It's something then. I got that going for me.
All right, my number 9 is the Texas Western Kentucky game, so we don't have to say much about that. But it did change the shape of college basketball, and that was iconic. It may not be as iconic as Bobby Riggs playing Billie Jean King, but Lucas, what do you got at number 9? You know what Lucas is going to put in here. Lucas is going to put in the time Justin Timberlake pulled out Janet Jackson's boob at the Super Bowl.
Well, Mike, that's in the 21st century. That's in the 21st century.
That's better than Bobby Riggs.
Not the 20th century. Not the 20th century. So get your centuries correct.
Okay.
On that one. But anyway, I'm going to go with Tiger Woods winning the Masters in 1997.
Really?
I mean, it was a significant moment for the sport.
For the sport. It's only significant for the sport.
Well, no, but it also showed how an African American athlete just completely
wasn't African American.
Dominate. Wow.
He's more Asian than he is African American.
Okay, Mike. Well, we'll debate that another day. But I mean,
I don't think there's a debate.
He dominated the sport. He dominated that tournament, shooting the lowest four-round score in Masters history at that time, and he would set him on a course to dominate like no individual athlete that we've seen in a very, very long time. And it just, I think, raised awareness that, in golf, predominantly a white sport, to have a black athlete do that, it's huge. So I got Tiger at number 9.
Lucas, I strongly agree with you 100%. He changed he changed golf on
Thank
that,
you.
It had
4
a
days.
huge impact on the
world. He tripled the income of all PGA Tour players.
Exactly.
He took the game to a group of people that had no interest in golf.
Y'all don't understand this.
He basically got Augusta. What they did basically was they called Tiger proving the course, because he wanted 18 under, 12 shots above the next competitor. Augusta looked at it, and although they'll never admit it, said, we don't want 18 under winning our tournament. And the course became longer the next year. Over the years, it's become much more difficult. The layout of that golf course has changed dramatically because of that event. Salaries went through the roof. Television contracts went through the roof.
It's no impact.
It actually probably, ranking at number 9, is probably socially too low. It probably
I know. I agree.
Given the fact that we know what your pension is for golf, we'll condescend to you a little bit and give it a number 9 slot.
Bullshit. That's
but
bullshit.
it was as big of an impactful event.
Oh, sure it was.
In a sport as there was. It was, Mike.
That is
for sure.
This is stupid.
It's as big as Texas Western beating Kentucky.
Yeah, it's as big as a group of 5 basketball players beating an all-white school in the 1960s while the Civil Rights Act is being passed. It's just as big. You're right.
Because you have an ethnic person, being whether you want to call Tiger Woods African American or you want to call him Asian, coming into basically a white man's sport, dominating it, and changing the layout of which neither Nicklaus nor Palmer could change to the level that, as great as they were, couldn't change the structure of the game. The Tiger changed the structure of the game.
Yeah, that's why there's so many blacks in the game today.
That's why it's more significant, because he did something that nobody else could do.
Okay.
I think that's naive on your part to not think that that's more important than you're giving it credit for.
I'm just saying it's not in the top.
And it's only because you don't like golf. You don't care about golf.
I know, because I'm a huge hockey fan, and the Miracle on Ice will be brought up fairly high on my list. So there's nothing.
Okay,
get ready.
There's a little bit of a. I mean, wait a second. Why wouldn't Calvin Peete be there? He won 12 PGA Tour events before Tiger Woods ever won.
But it's not the Masters. It's not the Masters.
Calvin Peete did not change the face of golf.
Yeah, and neither did Tiger
Calvin
Woods.
Peete was the best African American to play the game at that point in time, with maybe Lee Elder.
How many black people are ranked in the top 20 right now in golf?
It's such an international game. I don't really know that for a fact, because I don't really follow the rankings, because the rankings are getting nothing more than somebody's opinion. And, they're mathematically done in a way that the greatest player can decide to take 5 weeks off, and then he's all of a sudden considered not the greatest player anymore just because he didn't play, because it's all based on your last 5 tournaments you played in stats. It's all hogwash. The fact is, Tiger Woods steps on a golf course today, television ratings go up, attendance goes up. At 43 with a bad back, he walks onto a golf course, television ratings go through the roof, attendance goes through the roof, everybody wants to know what Tiger's doing on the course, television coverage goes purely to where Tiger's playing. There's no athlete that's probably dominated a single sport in terms of changing its structure than Tiger Woods. Now, it was pretty easier to do than, say, a game like baseball, basketball, or football. I get that.
I'm pretty sure Muhammad Ali probably did.
And Ali would be one too. Exactly, Mike. He's like a Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, he's like Muhammad Ali.
He changed his game that much.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali is best known for getting in a fight on TV with his wife. That's what Tiger Woods is best known for now, because he hasn't won anything in years.
You're so naive.
Not so, Mike, come on. That's so disrespectful.
Move on. Lucas, move on. Wait
a second. Why would we move on? Because this is the thing. Why are the ratings bad then for golf?
He hadn't played. He's just now coming back to play, and ratings are going through the roof again.
They're going through the roof.
Follow it?
Wait a second. The 2018 U.S. Open had a 3.2 rating.
He didn't make the cut.
MLS soccer.
He didn't make the cut. I guarantee it would have been different had he made the cut. It's living proof right there that he makes the cut in the Masters, and it's one of the best years for the Masters ever.
Yeah.
And, the ratings up, but he misses the cut. People don't watch
that
anymore.
Big of a deal because it's golf. And there's still not a lot of black people playing golf because you've got to be rich to play golf. All right. Number 8, Lukas.
Well, is it okay if I go into the 21st century, or
no,
are we sticking to anything before 2000?
Jeez.
Okay.
And nothing's happened relevant in the last 20 years anyway.
So I'm going to go at number 8. The Toronto Blue Jays winning back-to-back World Series championships.
Jesus.
And I know I'm Canadian, but for a game of baseball it's an American game. I think we can agree on that. America's national pastime. To have a Canadian franchise break through relatively, the Jays were founded in 1977. So in less than 20 years to have back-to-back championships, it's quite impressive. And I think the game of baseball has really grown in Canada because of their success. So I got to go the Jays winning back-to-back World Series at my number.
Lukas, how many Canadians were on that team? How many Canadians were on those teams?
Steve,
Lukas,
it's I'm going to say
it's an American group of players playing on visas in Canada. It's still an American sport. It was an American team.
No,
they just happened to be
agree.
Playing out of Toronto.
I agree.
Whatever. Okay.
But also I think it's important for the country of Canada to for the city of Toronto, which has not won many championships, to have that success, especially after less than 20 years of them being introduced in the MLB.
All right, I got
Mike, what do you got?
8. My number 8. It's not as big as the Blue Jays winning a World Series, but I'm going to go with Super Bowl 3. Joe Namath.
Okay, the guaranteed
football. I didn't talk when you were talking. I didn't think, Lukas. That was kind of rude. But you have the AFL NFL merger and you're still doing it. The AFL NFL merger coming, and just gave validity to that. Changed the face of football. I know a lot of people will bring up the 1958 championship game, but I think Super Bowl 3 was the game that really put NFL football on the map. You had a guy like Joe Willie Namath, who was a star in New York, which is the biggest place you can be a star at. He goes and he beats Johnny Unitas, Earl Morrall, Don Shula, Tom Matte, the Baltimore Colts. And the Colts, I think, were 13-1 that year. Had just beat the dog snot out of the Cleveland Browns like 38-0 the week before in the NFL championship game. So I'm going to go with Super Bowl 3. Steve, what do you got at 8?
That's good. It's a good call. And that was right up there with me. I got at number 8, I got Hank Aaron's 715th home run. I think that was huge. That changed. Yep. I mean, that was a record that was going to stand forever. And for an African-American to do it, again, I'm looking at these as what they also impacted on the social world too, as well as the sports world. And when Hank hit that, I remember, again, watching it and, all the fans coming out of the stands and the one guy trying to chase him around. And I just remember the event live and we had how much we were watching and waiting. And I think the Jets game is right there. But I also think that Hank's 715th home run definitely was a huge sporting event because the Babe was so beloved, baseball is beloved, and, to break that record, which is one that we wanted to have stand for all time because we always wanted to be the Babe, to be the king. That was my number 8.
I'll go ahead and start number 7, I guess, since I haven't started yet. I'm going to go with the 1979 NCAA basketball final between Michigan State and Indiana. Indiana State, the Magic Bird game, which I think saved the NBA, Bird and Magic did later because of this game, and also made March Madness one of the biggest tournaments or one of the biggest sports happenings in the world. I'm going to go 79, Indiana State, Michigan State. Lukas.
Yeah.
Get off the Iditarod sled so we can hear you and tell us what your number 7 is.
Okay, so number 7 is not an Iditarod race. I'm going to go with Super Bowl III. I got one higher than you, Mike.
Yeah, because you didn't even think about it till I brought it up, so you're bringing it up next.
No, that's not true.
You've embarrassed yourself. Your first 3 picks, you've embarrassed yourself on at least 2 of them.
No, that's not true. But anyway.
It's true.
He slit his throat on the Bobby Riggs thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonder you don't have the miracle in Manchester there.
Hey, Mike, thanks for interrupting, by the way. So,
I can do whatever the hell I want, Lucas. I can mute you. I can cut you off. I can do whatever I want, but you will respect me. You will respect my authority.
Well, I'm going to go with Super Bowl III. I think Joe Namath guaranteeing that he was going to win the game brought a lot of entertainment to the Super Bowl. And also, it was a huge upset. I mean, I think the Jets were 14-point underdogs. I mean, Mike, you can 18.5. So they were severe underdogs. So they were severe underdogs, and to pull off that Super Bowl win was really, really set the tone for the NFL going forward.
All right, Mr. Risley.
Again, I like that pick. I like it, but I'm trying to put a little variety into this a little bit, and I think there's so many so close at that point. My number 7 pick was the 72 Olympic basketball game where for the first time the U.S. ever lost a game, and it was in the middle of the Cold War with Russia, and there were some very questionable calls that came in at the end that were 3 bad calls in a row that really almost basically just said Russia can keep playing until they finally score and win. And I thought politically it was devastating for us. We finally got into a situation where, we had dominated the sport of basketball since its inception into the Olympics. And that was a monumental night when Russia ended up defeating the U.S. for the first time. And, it kind of set a tone where from that point on, the United States, until they brought the Dream Team back in, never really became that dominant again. I think they won again, but were never as dominant as they were up until that night when Russia beat the U.S. in the 72 Olympics. That was my number 7 pick.
All right, Lucas, number 6.
Well, similar to Steve in some ways, I'm going to go with the Summit Series of 1972, Canada versus USSR. It was a big moment, obviously, similar to what Steve said. It was, the Cold War. Tensions were high between the Western world and the Soviet Union. Of course, the USSR trying to, flex its muscles, trying to be, proclaim them as the best hockey country. But then, of course, Canada, they won the Summit Series with an amazing goal in overtime by Paul Henderson. So really kind of set the message around the world that, Canada is a hockey nation. And it was just a big moment to, for the game of hockey and then, of course, the political, social context. So I like the 72 Summit Series.
All right, Steve, do you know what that is?
Yeah, actually I do.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I already Googled it.
I wouldn't see. You already Googled it. I already know about it. I've seen all 8 games, not live. But
well, wait a minute here. In the first meeting between the Soviet national team and a team of Canadian professionals, an unlikely hero emerged. With the Canadians trailing 2-1 in the series, Paul Henderson came up big for Canada, scoring a game-winning goal, 6, 7, and 8 on the series. Against the backdrop of the Cold War, the series was the first Soviet Union team to play Team Canada with players from the NHL. The success of the Soviets, even in defeat, showed the wealth of talent.
Instead of reading Google, was the fact that the Russians
actually dominated. Google, Sports Illustrated.
The Russians dominated the first 5 games, and I think the series was like 3-1-1. And Canada came back and won 3 straight 1-goal games in games 6, 7, and 8. I think this, if you're talking about Canadian sports, it's probably, it might be number 1 even. Worldwide, I wouldn't put it in the top 10, but I'm not going to hate on it because it's one of my favorite hockey moments, to tell you the truth. Steve, number 6.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Number 6 for me. Again, I'm staying a little bit more with. Again, I keep going back to the social impact, and then number 6 for me was 68 Olympics, with John Carlos and Tommy Smith, and the fist raising at the Mexico Olympics in '68. And at a time when racial tensions, again, like you said, Mike, with Texas Western at the highest of all time, civil rights acts trying to be, and for them to stand up there defiantly and knew they were going to take a major hit by the people of the Olympic fans and of America, basically. They were going to take a huge hit. And the courage, at first we all hated them for it, and we thought it was so disrespectful. But when you look back on it, you see the courage that it took for them to take a stand like they did and make the statement. And it's what goes back to what I think makes this country so great, is that people have the ability to think differently than we would think individually. And this certainly was a defining moment in sport for me, for the civil rights, bringing everybody in the fold, and being willing to risk that. It's almost a precursor to Kaepernick, basically.
Exactly.
It's a precursor to what Kaepernick's trying to do. And the more you dive into what Kaepernick's trying to do, you start to look at it from a different perspective. And I think that you can do a lot of studying on this event at the '68 Olympics and understand better what Kaepernick's trying to generate in his movement, where he's trying to go with it. And again, we ridicule Kaepernick's been ridiculed. It's basically been blackballed from the NFL for all intents and purposes. I don't care what anybody's going to tell you, but he's been blackballed. So that was my number 6.
My number 6, I'm going to combine two. And everything with me right now from 1 through 6 is political, historical ramifications. Nothing else. I don't care about how great the game was, anything like that. But when I look at number 6, I'm going to combine two people. One of them's Jackie Robinson, who, broke the color barrier in baseball. But also Kenny Washington, who broke the color barrier in football in the NFL in 1946. The one thing people don't remember is that from the start of the NFL, which was 1920, 1918, somewhere around there, till about 1933, blacks were free to play in the NFL, and a lot of them did. Guys like Fritz Pollard, who's in the Hall of Fame. George Preston Marshall, who is in the Hall of Fame and should not be because he's a racist piece of shit, just no other way to put it, with the Washington Redskins, basically cut backdoor deals to get rid of black players from the NFL. You fast forward, there's a team in L.A. in 1946, or there's going to be a team. But the only way they can get them to let them play at the Memorial Coliseum is basically a group put pressure on Rams ownership to sign a black player. If they did not sign a black player, they would not be allowed to have the team in Los Angeles because they wouldn't be able to get the Coliseum or the Rose Bowl. So George Halas saw Kenny Washington and was going to break the color barrier with him. But from the story I've heard, the league wanted to permit integration, or didn't want to permit integration. So he graduated in 41. George Halas wanted him. They wouldn't let him in. Washington went to war, came back, and a group of black sports writers in L.A. put this pressure together. They got the Memorial Coliseum behind them, the Rose Bowl behind them, and basically forced the Rams to sign a black player. That was Kenny Washington. Washington had 3 years where he didn't even rush for 1,000 yards, but it was a guy that if you'd have gave him the right to play right after he graduated from college in 1941, you would have had a great career, probably a Hall of Fame career. And then, of course, you got Jackie Robinson, who integrated baseball with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. But those two guys are my number 6. I don't talk about Robinson as much because I think Kenny Washington's is a story that needs to be heard. Everybody pretty much knows the Jackie Robinson one. Steve, number 6.
Agreed. I agree with that. That was number 6?
Yeah.
We got number 6. Number 6 for me, and for these reasons, I'm going to go off a little the political thing a little bit for one pick. I think the number 6 for me is the 92 Dream Team. It basically started to signal the end of amateur sports in the United States because it's the first time we let professionals play under an American flag in the Olympics. And it was such a hype job with that team and all the players on that team, and the players wanting to be on that team. And when they came in, they absolutely dominated. It was silly. It was just silly. the game itself, but the messaging there is maybe not as political as much as it is the statement that finally U.S. was getting on board by saying that amateur sports really doesn't have a place that it used to have in the Bobby Jones golf era or, those eras back then.
Well, the Olympic era.
The track and field, the Olympic era, right. It no longer had a place in the Olympic era. And it pretty well signaled to start from that point on that all athletes now get compensated very well for participating in the Olympics. Gold medals, I think, can pay up to $100,000 for winning a gold medal. And I think that was a defining moment for amateur sports and, for the birth between the NBA and the Olympics and getting them playing.
All right. I really don't think it's top 10, but I'll let it go. It's not like you said Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King. Lukas, number 6.
So I'm going to go with the Rumble in the Jungle. Big fight. Muhammad Ali, George Foreman. Of course, the 32-year-old Ali's trying, face off against George Foreman, who's on a 40-match win streak. Ali, of course, pulls off the historic upset. You got to understand that, a few years earlier, Ali was imprisoned for refusing to go fight in the Vietnam War. So, obviously, the fight just added to Muhammad Ali's legend. He really showcases rope-a-dope tactics. And then just, his legacy is one of the great athletes who just added a lot of social impact. So I got to go with the Rumble in the Jungle night between Ali and Foreman.
Well, that means you've got at least 3 fights in your top 5 coming up if you're going to go fights that are more important, because there's plenty. And Steve, number 5.
Number 5 for me is I'm going to catch crap for this, I know, but I think again a defining moment and the pursuit of getting this done and the way it mesmerized the country for a day, and that's War Eagle versus Seabiscuit, the match race. I think in terms of, and I know we've had a lot of great. Well, you have to understand the history of all this, how long that Charles Howard pursued this, and how these were 2 of the greatest horses. And horse racing at that point in time it's not as big now as it was then, but horse racing was one of the premier sports along with boxing in its time when this race took place. And essentially, the Seabiscuit was getting no respect. The owner of War Eagle was just totally refusing, pulling out of any race. Seabiscuit said he would go and enter any race if this guy was in trying to race this horse. War Eagle would pull out, would not race him. And finally, they got this match held. I think it was November 1, and basically the entire country shut down for the race. I mean, you saw pictures and businesses closing, radios on, and just to capture the imagination of the entire country over 1 2-minute horse race, I think is a huge sporting event. I mean, that one event, a horse race that we all scoff at, but they can capture, very few events you have where a city or a country will just shut down and stop functioning for a period of time to listen to this and listen to this race. And then, of course, the major thing was the upset that Seabiscuit ends up winning this race going away. After all the time when War Eagle said, we have nothing to gain, we're going to kill him, and it ended up not coming out that way. So in the glory of the moment of that 2 minutes and that event and how it captured the imagination of the country, I think it's a significant sporting event. Today it wouldn't be, because horse racing is not where it is back then. But back then, that was a prime. Baseball, boxing, horse racing, were all major sports. That's my number 5.
All right, my number 5 is Jack Johnson against James Jeffries, July 4th, 1910. Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight champion of the world. They did a search for the Great White Hope. James J. Jeffries was a undefeated, retired heavyweight champion who, after 5 years, was brought back from working on an alfalfa farm, weighed like 400 pounds, lost 130, 140 pounds for this fight. And this was a fight that was beyond racially divisive. I mean, Jack Johnson was a guy that liked to basically play with his opponents. And this is a time where you had a stadium built just for this fight that seated 100,000 people, and it was packed on that day on July 4th, and it wasn't a competitive fight. But what it was is you had a white American fighting against a black American who was the heavyweight champion of the world, and I don't think you can ever have a more racially... I mean, this is something that caused riots across the country after Johnson beat Jeffries. Black people were killed in the streets by white people who were upset about it. And this is where I'm going from here on. I think everything here from 5 up for me or from 6 up for me is something that everybody in this country and everybody worldwide knew what was going on. So I'm going to go with Johnson Jeffries at 5, Lucas.
So this is tough. I'm going to go number 5 to be Steve's earlier 1968 Olympics. I think it deserves a little bit more of a higher ranking just because of the historical significance. And also at that Olympics, Bob Beamon had the longest, the world long jump record, which has never been broken. So, I mean, but obviously the historical significance of the Black Power, as Steve mentioned earlier, I think it deserves a higher spot. It's in my number 5.
All right, Lucas, go ahead and give us number 4.
So I'm going to go number 4 to be Jesse Owens at the 1936 Olympics. Of course,
I'm going to give you this real quick, Lucas. I'm going to agree with you at number 4.
Oh, nice. Nice to see we agree. Look, I mean, it's the backdrop of Nazi Germany takeover, and Adolf Hitler, of course, is using this Olympics to really show the dominance of his so-called Aryan race in terms of athletics. And here comes black athlete Jesse Owens, who just dominates. And there's even a rumor to be where in the race that he won the gold medal, or one of his gold medals, Adolf Hitler was in the building, in the stadium, and then he left in frustration. So to see an American do that, it was one of the first televised sporting events around the world. It was truly a remarkable moment, and it just showed that a black athlete from America can have success and really prove, what Nazi Germany was saying wrong.
All right, Steve, number 4.
I got the original Ali versus Frazier. I think it is maybe not the greatest fight of all time, but I think it is one of the biggest promoted, biggest watched, most important fights. And Mike can correct me, was this Ali's first fight back from being suspended? No, it was not.
Ali came back 1970 that year in October of 1970.
Yeah.
He fought Jerry Quarry, who I think was the number 1 contender, who went life and death with Joe Frazier earlier for the heavyweight title. He knocked out Quarry in 3, and then he came back in, I think, December, like 2 months later. He fought Oscar Bonavena, who was an Argentinian heavyweight, who was really good, who had knocked Joe Frazier down twice and almost beat Frazier in Frazier's 12th fight. And then Ali fought in March, I think it was 15th, 1971 against Joe Frazier.
Okay. So, but it was this really first significant fight then, we would say. I mean, any fight's significant, and I don't want to belittle it in any way, shape, or form, but I think it was monumental in the fact that it made a statement for Ali in his court case, and, that he stood and fought his ground, and he had protested fairly and squarely and won, was willing to take his lumps, and came back, and I think it was kind of almost a little bit of a moment, not to the degree of Bird and Johnson saving the NBA, but I think that boxing took a step up when he came back, and that fight probably was the launching pad that brought heavyweight boxing back into a more commercial fold for me. I remember that fight, and I remember just the hype and going around it, and of all the boxing matches I'm ever aware of, that would be the most significant one to me, was the original Ali versus Frazier.
I got it higher.
Yeah, and I get that.
What do you got it at? You got it at 3 or 4? That was
I had 4.
Okay,
I got 4.
I've got it at number 3, and
yeah,
I think it's the second most significant boxing match of all time.
Okay,
when I look at it, the thing is, you can't have another Ali-Frazier because of the times. And the same thing with what I've got ranked as a higher boxing match is you had basically white America supported Joe Frazier, black America supported Muhammad Ali. But in the end, I mean, Muhammad Ali's greatest accomplishment wasn't in a ring. It was when he decided not to go to Vietnam. And, there's draft dodgers that are presidents. The Bill Clintons, the George W. Bushes, and the Donald Trumps, who their daddy, because they had money, got him out of it. Muhammad Ali actually did not believe we should be in that war. And because of Muhammad Ali, he started speaking at college campuses after that. He didn't run off to Canada. No offense to Canada. It's a great place to run away if you're afraid. But that didn't sound right. I actually like Canada. But when you look at him, he started going to college campuses, started speaking out against the war. I think that Muhammad Ali is probably the most important athlete of the last 150 years, maybe of all time. When I look at it, Ali-Frazier 1 was a great fight. And the thing about Ali-Frazier 1, if you watch it, there's a version called The Fight where there's no announcers. And it just has Ali and Frazier fighting. And as fast as those guys threw punches and as hard as they threw punches, it's amazing that two men could do that to each other for 45 minutes. And Joe Frazier was never the same after that fight. But my claim is this: Muhammad Ali is the greatest fighter I ever saw that was a heavyweight boxer. Not the greatest fighter of all time, but the greatest heavyweight boxer. But on that night of March 15th, Joe Frazier for one night was maybe the greatest fighter this world's ever seen, because this man went toe-to-toe with Muhammad Ali and beat him. Now, this is not the Ali of 1968, and the question that arises is, if Ali doesn't get in trouble and they have this fight in 1969, what happens? Because I think that then it becomes probably an Ali-dominant win and things are never the same. And when you look at the guys that fight nowadays, like Floyd Mayweather, there's no fight where you see Floyd Mayweather fight that's going to be remembered as a great fight. He'll be remembered as a great fighter. But when you think about Ali, you think about the upset of Liston, the 3 fights with Frazier, the upset that Lukas brought up of Foreman, coming back at 36 and beating Leon Spinks after he lost the first time. I mean, this guy had 4 or 5 significant wins. And when you look at it, 3 of those wins were after huge losses, whether it was losing 3 years of his career or losing the fight before it. And he always came back and won. So I've got Ali-Frazier number 1 at number 3. Lukas, how about you?
So this is my number 3, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go with a game that really had an impact in the 20th century, and that's Dwight Clark's The Catch in the NFC Championship game.
You're kidding,
no,
right?
No.
So wait a second.
I know I'm going to get crap for it.
Wait a second. Hold on. What was your number 4?
What was my number 4? The 1968.
What was your number 5?
I forget.
So you think that the Dwight Clark catch was more significant than, Tom Merriwood and Carlos and them standing up there?
No, I just think from a game perspective. I mean, because again, it's a parameter thing, and for me, I think you gotta I think socially, you gotta separate socially from the game impact. I want to throw a game in there that to me had a big impact on just the quality of the brand of football. And I just don't think, at that time you got 2 great franchises, of course, the Dallas Cowboys, historic franchise. And it's one of the most exciting finishes in the 20th century of NFL football. And Joe Montana's throw to Dwight Clark will always be remembered. And I think, grew, made the game just more exciting because of these thrilling finishes that can happen. Well, so for me, obviously, on a social level, is the 1968 Summer Olympics Black Power more significant? Absolutely. But I'm just going to throw in a game that to me had significant impact for the brand of NFL football.
Now, you do know the catch was made with 54 seconds left in the game.
As the game was winding down. That's pretty exciting.
54 seconds left in that game. The biggest play of that game was, I think, Eric Wright made the tackle. The Cowboys actually drove the ball to the 50 really quick. And with 35 seconds left, I forget who it was, catches a pass, breaks into the open, and gets tackled. He's the guy that made the game-saving play. There was still 54 seconds left. I've seen better NFL games. Number 2, Lucas.
Oh, we're on number 3.
Number 2.
Lucas just did 3, didn't you?
Well, you didn't go 3 all the way around for everybody.
Oh, I didn't go 3 to
number
you then.
3, yeah.
Steve, 3.
Sorry.
Real easy. 3 to me was Robinson in Washington, integration of black athletes into professional sports. And for all the reasons, I don't need to restate what you said so eloquently, Mike. I think that was just the integration of the African Americans into the sports, and both of the stands that both those guys had to take, and the punishment they had to take to do that, and the pathway they created for everybody else, and everything you said. So I just had that a little higher at number 3. I do want to comment on Lucas's Dwight Clark catch. If you really think about it, he could very easily interchange that play with Bobby Riggs' Billie Jean King. So either one of those could probably swap on his list.
Yeah, either one of those could go. You're obviously losing this, Lucas. So you need a big finish.
Yeah, Lucas.
Steve,
it's one of the most exciting plays in NFL.
It's not. It's not top 10. Okay, so
it is
I can off the top of my head name a bunch of plays that were more exciting, that were at the end of the games, not with a minute left.
Yeah. That's not a top 10 of football games as far as I'm concerned.
No. Greatest NFL game I ever saw, I believe, would have probably been the 81 double overtime game between Miami and San Diego.
Yeah, I remember that was a good one.
That's college football.
College football.
You could even
wait
look
a second.
at
College.
Eric Dickerson
What are you
running
saying about
wild
college
on Monday
football
night.
for? Why did you say college football?
No, college football is exciting, but you got to separate college football and NFL. They're two different games.
Nobody said anything about college football, did they? I didn't think so. Steve, number 2.
No.
Number 2 for me. Number 2 for me is Jesse Owens. Only, and to me that we've already dashed that one out too. Just that it became more relevant as time went on because we didn't know the monster that Hitler was in 32 that he ended up becoming. We knew he was a bad person, but we certainly didn't know the monster that he became. And for Jesse to go in there and defy him and win, like you said, on his home track, when you have a madman trying to wipe out an entire race of people and create his Aryan race, and for Jesse to be, an African-American going in there and doing what he did, I just think is just one of the top 2 sporting events of all time. And it's become more historic as time has gone on. And I think it will continue to always grow in how important that year of Olympics was in that track meet and Jesse Owens' successes there were. And that's all I need to add to what was already said about it. But that would be number 2 for me.
All right. To me, the top 2 are indisputable. And if you don't have them there, Lucas, you're a moron. Here we go. Number 2 for me is Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling, the second fight.
Oh, my. Yep.
What, you don't agree, Lucas?
No, go ahead.
Do you not agree?
You'll hear my response.
Well, give me your response.
The floor is yours, Mike.
Oh, you want to learn something about it before you have an opinion. All right. Joe Louis, Max Schmeling happened in 1938. 1936, Berlin, Jesse Owens wins. All right. Adolf Hitler, gets put in his place a little bit. The problem is, a couple months later in 1936 at Yankee Stadium, Joe Louis, young, black heavyweight. There hasn't been a heavyweight champion that was black since Jack Johnson, because Jack Johnson kind of screwed it up for everybody for a couple decades. Joe Louis fights at Yankee Stadium against Max Schmeling, like a 12-1 favorite. Max Schmeling knocks him out. Max Schmeling goes back to Germany as a hero. All right. By the time you get to 1938, you've had tons of people from Germany, like Marlene Dietrich, the actress, that comes to this country and tells us what's going on there. You've got a Holocaust that has started. You have people getting killed in the streets because of what religion they are, or because of what color their skin is. Max Schmeling is not the heavyweight champion of the world because Joe Louis in 1938 beats James J. Braddock to win the title. Schmeling did not get a shot at Braddock for the title because everybody knew Schmeling was going to win. They were afraid that if Schmeling won the title, he would go back to Germany in 1938 and stay there with the title until the war was over, basically giving Hitler what's considered baddest man on the face of the earth. Now, Louis gets the shot. Louis immediately wants to defend against Schmeling because Schmeling beat him. Schmeling comes to the United States, and instead of doing what Marlene Dietrich did, which was to warn everybody of how bad Hitler was, Max Schmeling comes over here. Max Schmeling was not a Nazi. His trainer was his manager was Jewish, but he played along with this. He came to this country and he told everybody everything was all right. So you fast forward to Yankee Stadium. You've got a couple years before World War II, but World War II's already started. Everybody knows that Hitler's a bad dude. All right? So you've got Hitler's big, superior Aryan race, and Max Schmeling, who's already knocked out Joe Louis. Joe Louis is a black American, and this is 1938. This is almost 30 years before the Civil Rights Act. Joe Louis fights in front of 100,000 people at Yankee Stadium, and everybody cheers for him. Not just black people, but white people cheered for Joe Louis. All right? This fight is over in about 2 minutes, and he hit Schmeling so hard one time that he puts him in the hospital bed. When the fight is being broadcast back to Germany at like 3 in the morning, Hitler's got everybody up listening to it because he thinks the same thing that happened before will happen again. Before the knockout punch comes, he pulls the plug on the entire country and acts like nothing happened. So what you had here was, I know Jackie Robinson was significant, but most white people didn't cheer for Jackie Robinson. But on this night in 1938, Joe Louis was not just a hero to black Americans. He was a hero to all Americans. And he was the first athlete that you could ever say that about. And Joe Louis was still loved by white America until the day he died, and still is to this day. The interesting thing about that is that Louis and Schmeling, Joe Louis, all right, we talked about Muhammad Ali and how Ali wouldn't fight for this country. Ali was never going to have to fight for the country. What Ali was going to have to do is go put on exhibitions. They pay him. Joe Louis put on exhibitions for 4 years in the Army, all right? Was considered a hero because he did it. He basically got taxed on this money, even though he wasn't paid. So the United States government, by the mid-1950s, had broke him with tax bills that he never should have had to pay because he was doing this for the troops to raise money for our government. You fast forward to the 60s, and he's broke, can barely make a living. Max Schmeling heard about it, and Max Schmeling flew to Chicago, found him, and from then on, helped him pay his bills. I don't think there is a greater sports story out there than the story of Joe and Max. And when you look at historical significance, you have World War II, you got Nazi Germany, you got the Americans. The American is black, the Nazi is white, and the American beats him. And he's a hero forever, no matter what color you are. To me, that's number 2, Lucas.
Well said,
okay.
Mike. I mean,
well said.
I mean, can't disagree with you, and it is a more compelling story that I was aware of, and certainly I would think that it belongs in the place where you put it, and for all the reasons you said. And I don't think that anybody. What's amazing to me is when like you said, he became a night where all Americans were cheering for a black athlete. It just shows to me in society that we can find common goals between racial barriers. We can all
Nazis.
Work together. Yeah, well, it's a common goal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a common goal. So the problem maybe today is we can't find I don't want to turn this into a social, but therein lies such a great example of finding a common goal and not understanding skin color, just understanding common goals.
Yeah.
And there was a night that validated that right there. And, I've almost got tears in my eyes listening to you talk about that.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Lucas, this is why the catch don't belong at 3.
Or Bobby Riggs at 10.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that is bigger. And I know I lived through a lot of these.
Well,
this is the thing.
Hey.
I think Louis Schmeling, 2, should probably be number 1. I went with something else because I lived through it.
Yeah, we all went with the same thing.
Well, get ready. So on number 2, I'm going to go with the Miracle on Ice.
2?
Yes.
All right.
Let him speak.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, of course, as we know, the Miracle on Ice, to give you some historical context, it's the Cold War heating up. You got U.S., USSR, 2 opposites. And, of course, the United States, the 1980 Lake Placid Olympics, there is a team of college kids, okay, coached by Herb Brooks. And here they are in the semifinal game, taking on a USSR team, which is, filled with people say the best hockey players in the world, professional. And here's a moment where, again, similar to 1975 Summit Series Canada, USSR, but on a way bigger scale. This is the Olympic Games. This is a chance for the USSR to solidify their place as the best hockey country or group of countries in the world. But Herb Brooks brings his guys together in the pregame and says, we can lose this team 9 times out of 10, but tonight we're going to beat them. He has one of the most historic pregame speeches of all time. And sure enough, a group of college kids go out there and beat USSR. And as Al Michaels famously says, do you believe in miracles? Yes. It was a miracle. I think it's one of the biggest, the biggest upset in sports. To see that, I don't think we're probably never going to see that ever again. And I just think that, even as a Canadian speaking here, I think we were all cheering, in the Western world for America and these college kids to try, say that, what, we are the great country that we are. The Western world is the dominant superpower. And they went on and did something that would, I think, even grow the game of hockey even more so at the Olympics. I mean, when people talk about the Winter Olympics with ice hockey, they look at this great moment. So I got that at number 2.
Yeah,
just because.
I'll tell you this,
Go ahead, Steve.
Lucas, I got it at number 1. I think Steve does too. Maybe it's just because we're Americans. But the thing that stood out to me about that was not just what you said about the amateurs beating the pros. Is these amateurs weren't even considered that good. They were like 500 in the pre-Olympic coming up. The Russians had beat them 10-3 like a week before the Olympics started. But the other thing you got to remember, and this is kind of like the Louis Schmeling 2 thing to me, you got to look at the Cold War. but also as an Americans were beat down in 1980. You had the Iran hostage crisis. You had inflation running rampant. Gas prices were sky high. Archie Bunker had been taken off the air, and they replaced All in the Family with Archie Bunker's place. It was just never the same. And then Alice was put on, and that show sucked. But you know what I mean, right, Steve? Because I think Steve agrees with me. Number one.
I do agree with you, but I'm telling you right now, I don't know that I wouldn't change it because I think the Max Schmeling-Lewis fight may have more relevance to total world importance.
Yeah.
I think the hockey match was more between Russia and USA, but in the time of when it occurred, it's going to get more play because it occurred at a time when more people had access to TVs and could see it. Right.
To me, it's more of a timer one, but I saw it, and I remember.
Right, I would agree. I don't know that after your eloquent speech on the fight that I wouldn't say, but yeah, it was my number one. But you know, the most amazing thing about that is that damn hockey match wasn't shown live.
That's what I was going to say.
It was tape delayed. It was tape delayed that night. It was not even shown live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they thought it was going to be such a whitewash.
Because I remember.
Yeah, you couldn't even.
Because I remember the game was played at like 5 o'clock, and I remember coming home from school. I told my mom and Dad,
schedule it.
I don't want to hear nothing about this game, because they were watching Dallas that night anyways. My dad didn't give two shits about hockey. But I remember that day in art class, I was in like the 4th grade. What we did is we all drew like American flags and colored them in and everything. And I remember actually sitting in front of my 13-inch screen color TV in my room while my parents were on the big TV. And I remember chanting USA while watching the game. I had no idea who was going to win. Well, I did because I was young and stupid. I thought, well, we're Americans, so we're better than everybody else anyways. That's just how we are. You know that, Lucas. That's why you guys don't like
American exceptionalism.
Yeah.
American exceptionalism.
Yeah.
But the thing is this. I remember the other thing about that, Steve, is beyond that, is the first game against Sweden was the day before the Olympic ceremony, or the opening ceremony. And the place in Lake Placid was like half full. And what I remember about that is I wanted to watch the hockey game because I actually did like hockey, but they weren't showing the game. They were just showing updates of the scores and doing these up-close and personals with the athletes. And then finally the U.S. is down, or they're down 2-1 with like 4 minutes left, and then they go to the air. And the thing that people forget is the U.S. scored a goal, I think it was Al Baker, with like time running out, like 20 seconds left, that if they don't score that goal, it probably even make the medal round. And on top of that, most people don't realize that the U.S. could have not even won a medal after beating Russia if they would have lost to Finland.
Right, yeah. That wasn't even the gold medal game.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that was Finland, not even the gold medal game.
Yeah, Finland wasn't a gold medal game. It was just what they used to do, and I'm sure Lucas knows this because he's a hockey nut, but it would be the top 4 teams would play, and you'd have an accumulation of points for a win, a loss, and a tie when those 4 teams crossed over and played each other. So if the U.S. would have went out and lost to Finland 4-2, and, Russia beat Sweden,
they wouldn't have medaled.
I can also tell you this, though, Lucas. The only competitive game that I remember the Russians playing in that Olympics was they only beat Canada, I think, 6-4.
You're right, Mike.
I got that game.
Yeah, Canadian Olympic hockey, I think really accelerated in the early 2000s. 2002 we won the gold medal. 2010 we won the gold medal. 2014, it didn't really get going until the 21st century. But back then, it was. Wait a second. It was USSR. I
got a question about that.
Yeah.
Is that because of the junior program they had and the fact that most of their guys, their better players, were being drafted to NHL teams when they were like 19 or 20?
Well, I think that's exactly the case. It's why. Here in Canada, we get very excited about the World Junior Hockey Championship every December and January. And, Canada, a lot of their 19 and 20-year-olds, they're already in the NHL. I mean, if we brought those guys, we'd be stacked. These other teams, they're bringing their best, 19 and 20-year-olds to play. So that's definitely a factor, Mike.
All right, so Lukas, what's your number one?
So I'm gonna do similar to you, Mike. Combine. I mean, I'm gonna combine Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier, and then, I mean, that story that you said with Joe Louis and Schmeling. I mean, I think it's hard not to put that in the number one spot. I think you put it in such an eloquent way. You should write a book about it. I mean, it was so eloquent, but it's so true. And I'll throw in as well. I mean, just for the hockey fans listening, Willie O'Ree was the first black hockey player to make it to the NHL. He broke the color barrier in that sport. And we see, a few successful black hockey players currently right now, PK Subban being the most successful one in the NHL right now. And it's because of Willie O'Ree. So I think with all the things being said, I think we really it shows that, these black athletes able to really beat the odds and the societal forces that were against them. And in the case of Joe Louis, everyone rallying around this athlete, as Steve says, to defeat a common goal, which was Nazi Germany. So it's a combination of number one for me, but it's, Jackie Robinson, Willie O'Ree breaking the color barrier mixed in with the Joe Louis Schmaling. You just can't beat that.
All right, Lukas, admit it. Today, you got your ass handed to you.
No, I got the courage of my conviction.
Really?
I got the courage of my conviction.
Come on, Lukas,
and I got a mixture.
Lukas.
I got a mixture. No, Lukas. Mike, don't be disrespectful.
I'm not. You just got your.
Leave your exceptionalism at the door. I think at the end of the day, it's a mixture. I think again with this topic, it's all about parameters. I think you got to mix in the societal impact, which we did, as well as, pure game entertainment impact. And I think I did that in my top 10.
Okay, how about this, though?
And some comedy.
You said that, but yet you only put one game in that top 10.
It's a mixture.
That's not a mixture. That's a whitewash. Steve, what do you got?
What do I got? What for?
Final.
I think what I got is we've been on the air for 90 minutes. I think we need to get off
fun.
the air.
So that's why I asked what your final thoughts were.
No, I think I think we all pretty well had the same genre in mind for the most part. The only outlier there is Bobby Riggs, Billie Jean. But that started the show off, so it gave us some humor to fire off this whole thing with. And other than that, I thought we all just, jockeyed positions a little bit, and it was good. I learned a lot. I learned some things I didn't know, as well as I'm glad I know now. And it was a good discussion.
All right, and Lukas, thanks for coming on again. Every Tuesday, we'll have the GOAT with Lukas Weese. How about that?
Great. Looking forward to it, guys. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Remember, you can catch me and Steve Risley every Monday through Friday at noon on thegruelingtruth.net. Check us out follow us on Twitter at GruelingTruth or at Survive the Magic. You can also tweet or put in Survive in Advance. It'll pull up Survive the Magic. You can follow us there. So, for Lukas Weese, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.